Hi everyone, welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Excuse me. Welcome back to another YouTube video. And this topic is called Men and Mental Health. So we're going to discuss that for a little bit. And we will start with Tony since she's the nurse.
Um, what should I say? Um, you know, men are there are some men that just don't discuss certain things with themselves. I don't know if it has to do with ego. I don't know if it has to do with who they are as an individual or if it's just shame. But some men go through some hard stuff in this life. It could be as small as just being black, a big black tall man, and people might become intimidated by the guy, especially living in these third world countries where there are multiple races. So those are things that could affect men. In terms of even in terms of abuse. I was having this conversation only today. Some men would not report that they're getting abused due to shame. Sometimes, even I have heard some horror stories, especially back home, where men would have complained to the police and say how their girlfriend was hitting them or abusing them, and the police officers laughed. And to be honest, men can be abused too. Women can beat up men. They could verbally abuse them, physically abuse them, even sexually abuse them. As hard as some people might believe that's not true, it can be true because some men say no, and some women are super pushy. So those are things that could affect a man's mental health too. And again, ego steps back in because it's like, oh man, I can't let nobody know that this woman beating me or whatever. But it's playing in the head, and that's why things happen out of the ordinary, and then they end up being the ones getting locked up when they were the ones being abused in the first place. So I feel like some men will talk, and then there are other men that won't talk, and I will encourage those men that don't talk to just talk, speak to somebody. Nothing is wrong with therapy, mental health. No, there are many mental health advocates around the world, and they actually are pushing men to take charge of their mental health. We always hear about females taking charge of their mental health, but males have mental health issues too. So, PSA, take care of your mental health, men, and we support you.
Okay, so first of all, I will say that race is a big thing, not a small thing. That's number one for me, for sure. But growing up in my country of Barbados, um, mental health was a stigma. That's for women, men, or anybody, the man and woman, whoever. It was a stigma for mental health, because people, from the minute you said, anything to do with anything to do with the word mental was just a big no. It was, what do you call that word? Um, the word is not coming to me right now. But yeah, it was a big no. And some people would have mental breakdowns, and they would not, they would refuse to go to the psychiatric hospital to get an assessment done, whatever, because the the the, uh, the psychiatric hospital was associated with mad people, and nobody wanted to be a mad person. So it was a big thing. And the thing about it is that the psychiatric hospital is not only for mad people, but it's for many different reasons, and it has many different departments. But unfortunately, that was the word just didn't come to me. I try to remember this.
Stigma?
Not stigma. Taboo.
Taboo.
It was a taboo, right? So I'm very happy though that now, in these past few years, we have been our country. People in our country have been opening up to mental health and encouraging people to seek help for mental health, because The problem comes where you keep things to yourself, and then you end up feeling depressed, you end up feeling anxious, you end up feeling like there is no hope, and you go to the side of suicide. And unfortunately, a good set of people were committing suicide too, and especially a lot of young men were committing suicide because they felt like they couldn't talk to anybody about what they were going through. And another thing is that a lot of things can trigger you to have some type of mental health. Mental health is just another term for another part of health. The same way when you are physically sick, you might have the flu, you might have um, chicken pox, you might have something a little bit more serious diabetes or heart disease or stroke or PCOS, endometriosis, whatever. You go to the doctor and you get help for that. The same way you need to get help for your mental health. So, as Tony was saying, there's so many different things that can trigger people's mental health. Can trigger people's mental health in a negative way. Like the same abuse that she was talking about, especially for men, because usually when it comes to women and women are being abused physically, emotionally, psychologically, or sexually, verbally, whatever, women are more inclined to talk out. But even at a time, there was a time when women did not talk out because they were ashamed as well, and they didn't want families and family members and friends to know that they were being abused. But now they're more inclined to say something, right? And they would more so get that sympathy, you know. But when men speak out, as Tony said, is looked at as they're soft or they're whatever, and that's not the case because you're a human being, and it's the same way we talk about with race, being a black person, and we say, well, whether if they're white, whether they're Indian, whether they're Hispanic, whatever, we all bleed red.
Correct.
We all have red blood going through our veins. We all cry. We all do all these human things because we're all under the one umbrella called human, despite how some people might think. But it's the same thing with men. Men, they're under the umbrella of human and they hurt. They feel, they have emotions, all of these things they have, and so they experience abuse as well. And as a result of experiencing abuse, they should not be made to feel ashamed of going through these things and the effects of being abused. And people should be there for them, And then it's not only that, but sometimes people feel lonely. Sometimes people feel, Sometimes people feel like alone, lonely. Sometimes people.
It's two different things, Being alone and lonely is two different things.
Sometimes people might feel it might this depression or whatever, because mental health comes in different ways too. You have bipolar, you have schizophrenic or schizophrenia or whatever. You have depression, you have anxiety, you have this, you have the next, you have two disorders or three or 10, whatever.
It's called split personality disorder.
Right. So you have all types of things. But the thing is, sometimes, people might be, I don't want to say normal wouldn't be the right word. Sometimes people might be going through a regular day in what's regular for them, waking up with their families, going to work, so on and so forth. And then somebody might lose a job especially that they might have been working 10 or 20 years. Imagine you work 10 or 20 years and you lose your job. That might affect you
mentally
big time. If maybe a loved one got sick or died, that might affect you big time. People think that when you say, oh, this boy went mad, is because of hit drugs or they went on some type of, messed up drug or alcohol, and that's the reason. But there are so many reasons. But I will hand this back over to my sister because I was talking a lot. So I will hand this back over to her.
It's funny that my sister is an introvert and talks a lot.
What you talk about when you have something to say?
What I want to say too, right? Going back to something she just said about the body having imbalances. Mental health is an imbalance too. Is an imbalance of something called your neurotransmitters. Those are chemicals in the brain that help you with mood, anxiety, anxiousness, like the adrenaline, um, all those different neurotransmitters to help balance you out. Cause trust me, if one is up and the other one is down, you're gonna be cuckoo basically. So it's just an imbalance. So we need to get away from this thing saying, "Oh, this body mad." I think that's the major reason why people are so afraid
To get
of
help.
getting help
Yeah.
in mental health because you might hear somebody say, "Oh man, he's a psycho." No, you didn't know that psychosis is actually a diagnosis. Gee, they run me. Right? It's a diagnosis. And there's treatment for it. But the problem is, we don't even want to admit that we have a problem.
Yeah.
It's just like being an alcoholic. The first thing about recovery with any type of abuse is to say I have a problem
Or addiction.
or I have an addiction. Is to confront because everybody has a denial when they are doing substance abuse. And again, as she just said, people turn to things in order to get over. So like one time I was talking to this guy and I asked him, "Do you smoke?" He told me, yeah, he smoked weed. And I said, okay. Do you smoke weed every day? He told me, yeah. I said, so why are you smoking weed? He told me because he problems just go away. I said, but when you come off the high, are the problems still there? He said, well, I will smoke again. And the thing is, you gotta face your fears, face the issues that are causing you to.
The reality.
Yeah, you have to now tell yourself that this is how I can deal with this. This is how I can deal with that because basically, substance abuse is basically like a cover up of your issues. Because when you turn to something and you use it, it can make you feel good. But then when you come off of that high, the problem's still here. So the question is now, what am I going to do to help these problems to go away? Right? And that's where therapy comes in and stuff like that. Therapy, group therapy, group support. Because when you know that somebody is actually in the same predicament as you feel a little better because it's like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I have there's somebody out there that is actually going through the same issues that I'm going through. So, with that being said, try and go to support groups. Go to any place that helps with any kind of therapy. You got therapists all over the place now and stuff like that. Go to them because everybody on earth has a problem. Everybody, we all have issues. Have we all have triggers that come to us that could break our mental health. But you know what? We have to pray to God, ask God to just help us, and we are Christians and we pray to God and we ask God and God continues to work in our favor. I mean sometimes God is going to tell us no, but God knows best and He sees what's coming up the road or whatever, as the old people would say. So yeah, you have to take care of you. If you realize that there's an issue coming on, if you realize that, you whenever you feel down, you might eat, you might drink, you might smoke, you might have sex with, have promiscuous sex, whatever. Try and find somebody to talk to. Talk to somebody because you do not want to end on a road where you might be obese, you might get sexually transmitted diseases or consequences that lead up to your actions that you would have done. Right? So that's what I wanted to say. I had a mouthful too, just like you, my sister.
Telling me. But yeah, everything Tony said was very true. And also, don't be ashamed of your struggle. Don't be ashamed. There are men, like Tony had mentioned in the beginning, that are raped. There are men that are, like Tony said, have been abused. There are men that have gone through sometimes the worst thing possible, wars, have gone through, having to survive a murder, having to survive, um, watching their families life be taken in front of them, or even like immigration. Because immigration might seem like something that is not such a big deal, but immigration literally plays a big part on people's mental health. When I was going through immigration, there were a good set of times where I felt down and out, sometimes even borderline depressed, because it's a lot you have to put into it, especially when you get turned around and around and around like a roller coaster, right? So if things, sometimes you might think, oh, my issue is not that big of a deal. Yeah, it is a big deal, because you know what you are going through, and you know the way it makes you feel, and it's okay to feel the way you feel, but just get, like Tony said, talk to somebody about it. If you can't talk to a family member, then maybe you can talk to a friend, maybe you can talk to somebody at church, maybe you can talk to a counselor, or maybe you can talk to somebody in a community center, or somewhere you can, if you can't afford to talk to a therapist, you may be able to talk to somebody that is maybe some type of community free counselor or something.
Or even a pastor.
Right. So basically, um, is important to get all of that out so that you can continue. I love watching Judge Jeanine Toler when she was on divorce court, because Judge Jeanine Toler always said she was a divorce TV judge, but she always said even she had a therapist. She had her therapist on speed dial, and so it is not a stigma, or it's not a taboo to say that I need help, and it's not physical, it's mental. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with saying I have skeletons in my closet that I need to talk about. You know, even whatever you're going through, it doesn't matter. And we need to embrace and love people beyond what their struggle is.
Correct.
We are too judgmental as a people, and we have our own skeletons in our closet. And I feel like just because somebody doesn't have your problem,
correct,
or they're not going through, or they have not gone down the path you've gone down, or they have their own path they're going down and you don't identify with it, does not mean that that you can't reach out and love people, or reach out and be there for people, despite you might not understand what that person might be going through. Because at the end of the day, what is most important is to know we have people that we can reach out and count on for whatever reason. That will be there to, even if you don't know what to say, just the fact of listening sometimes is what people might need. Just to have somebody listen to you is what people may need. So yeah, whether you're a female or male, or whatever your situation might be, it's important, and you get the help for it if you need it. And don't let nobody tell you that, oh, whatever. Nobody wants to hear that. All that matters is that you feel better. All that matters is that you are healthy. That's the only thing that matters.
And I would just take a minute to say this too. Anything that stresses you out can affect your mental health. So, like Shanita said, immigration, it might be an exam, a very important exam. You might lose your job. You know, those are things that causes stress, and it could cause you to think and think and think. So even though I might not, for example, I might not smoke, so smoking would not help me. I might like something else, like maybe gambling. And I might go and gamble because I'll be like, all right, I gotta get this money, because I'm working, you know? So, and trust me, an addiction is an addiction. Don't think because you don't take drugs that you are not addicted to something else. You can be addicted to something else, and it can cause you to lose everything. It could be something as small as eating. You can lose it all through that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Being a shopaholic is another one. Like, too. Things that people might not think is an addiction. As long as you're doing it excessively, it can become an addiction. And also, I wanted to say another big point for me too. I don't know what Tony's smiling at because she was talking forever.
That's not true.
Another big point for me as well is parents, stop putting pressure on your children when they're doing exams. And I'm mostly so talking about
11 plus
persons in my country or in the Caribbean who have to set the 11 plus exam or CXCs. Now, don't get me wrong. You want the best for your child. You want them to do well, and that's important. You send them to lessons, and I'm pretty sure that a child knows their potential, and I'm pretty sure they can go to their highest potential. However, there's a difference in encouraging your child to reach their highest potential and completely and totally just forcing and just whatever, like, just don't overdo, because a lot of times children also feel depressed and experience mental health and mental breakdowns because their parents are pushing them and overdoing it when it comes to them doing examinations at the end of the day, especially 11 plus. Because at the end of the day, regardless of the school you go to, and I think in Barbados they said they want to change it or whatever, where you just send the children to whatever schools now. And I think that might be a good idea because now you don't have people saying this is a dumpsy school and this is a great school.
Correct.
But my thing is, regardless of whatever school your child attends, they can still do well and excel. And let's talk about, regardless of how you do your CXCs, you can still, even if you have to go back to school again to study or whatever, you can still do well and you can still exceed.
Be successful.
Right? Because at the end of the day, life is not just, like I said before, life is not a straight road. It has a lot of zigzags and turns. And not only that, but again, some children are not academically inclined, but they are also gifted with their skills. And they might be really, what's the word I want to say? They might be very good at doing things with skills like braiding hair or carpentry or plumbing or mechanics or something, sports. They might be good at different things. So don't just always push academia, even though academia is good. Try branching out and seeing what your child is good at to make sure that they're well rounded and to see where they shine best, because everybody doesn't always shine best in academia. So that's all I have to say where that's concerned.
I have one more. I have one more thing to say too. It doesn't matter what you do, where you go to school, how much CXCs you have. Trust me. Let me teach you something. This is for my young people, my youngsters. Some people, especially in Barbados, is speaking about really and truly. Some people might be going hard since College Queens, College Commonwealth. You might have gone to Lestevan, Springer, St. Leonard, St. George, whatever. Trust me, you and them might end up in the same career. And it doesn't matter your GPA in college. Once you pass whatever subjects you have to do, you are what you are, and they went to school at a certain school, and you and them in the same career. So don't ever think about, oh, but I went Queen's College or whatever. I went Estevan. I went Ali. Sorry.
I didn't know you went Estevan.
Sorry,
Okay.
I went Ali. My sister went Estevan, and we are two successful ladies. And let me tell you something. I love Alina. She loves her Estevan. We didn't have to go QC. No issues with QC or AAC or nothing. So my point is,
we went Lodge.
And we also went Lodge, but I don't really claim that. But anyways.
I hope all the Lodge people come for you. But okay. I hope all the Lodge people come.
Yeah, my point is, all of us will end up in careers once we do what we're supposed to do. And I shouldn't just say yes, not everybody's going to be pushing, will be going towards academia, and there might be a skill too. And trust me, you want more skills than even having these big degrees, because truth be told, those people with the big degrees don't even get a proper job. Sometimes, yeah.
Not all the time.
Sometimes, right? And stuff. So, yes, this video is now going on to 25 minutes. So, please like,
share,
and subscribe. Until next time.